Hi, Ben Gessling and Jen Royal here at Nationals Park for the start of the Battle of the Beltways, the series between the Nationals and Orioles, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the pitching matchup for tonight and how we see the series shaping up. Jen, what's been the key with David Hernandez so far this year for the Orioles?
Oh, actually, there hasn't been a key for him.
Okay.
He hasn't earned a win, and I believe it's 15 starts.
Okay.
He's lost his last 11. I just talked to Luke Scott about whether or not the offense feels any extra pressure when David does take the mound, because I really think this kid needs a win.
Yeah.
Dave Tremblay spoke 2 starts ago about him, and he said, you know, this kid just needs to find a way to win. And I don't think his confidence is very high right now. Like I said, the offense doesn't have any extra pressure, and they don't need any more pressure because they're not hitting at all right now. Well, a couple guys are, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I think what's going to be difficult for David is the fact that he doesn't really know these batters.
Right.
So I don't think things are getting much easier for him. But talk to me about Scott Olson, because I know that he won the 5th spot out of spring training.
Right.
How impressive has he been?
Well, he's been very good. I mean, nobody really expected this. He was coming off the shoulder surgery, obviously, and that was the big question this spring, was how would his shoulder respond. But I mean, his fastball's come back to the low 90s. His slider's been good, which is the key for him, is just to have his slider working as an out pitch. And to be honest, there's been a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, the team didn't, they kind of hedged their bets. They non-tendered him and said, we're not sure if this guy's going to come back. So I think he used that as motivation a little bit, and has kind of been driving off of that all year. I mean, he had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning a couple of weeks ago, and said that at one point that the fact that the Nationals non-tendered him and kind of cast some doubts about him has been the big motivating factor for him. And, this is a big series for the Nationals because they've been hit or miss the last few games here. They're back down to 500 and, kind of trying to get some momentum building here. And it's obviously a big series for the Orioles, too. How do you see this shaping up?
Well, the other thing that I want to say about David Hernandez is that he missed his last start because his shoulder was sore. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not he's even healthy enough to, I mean, obviously he's healthy enough to pitch, but if the health is a factor in his start today. And also, you mentioned the chip on his shoulder with Olson. That's what's going on with Brad Bergeson. Brad Bergeson went down to the minor leagues, and when he came back, he's been lights out. He had a little trouble in his last time out, but that chip on the shoulder, it's amazing what it does for these young pitchers. Yeah,
it seems to be kind of a motivating factor for a lot of these guys, and it definitely has been for Scott Olson. With the Orioles offense, I mean, that's been a problem all year. We've seen it, and we've seen them have trouble with runners in scoring position. What's going on there? Talk to me about what the key has been to why they've been struggling like they have.
That's the key right there. They're not hitting with runners in scoring position. I think that what we have seen lately, which is a good thing for the Orioles, is that they're playing a little more small ball. They're bunting. They're moving the runners over. Luke Scott right now is on fire. Ty Wigington has been great. Corey Patterson came up. He's filled in nicely for Brian Roberts. And the question is, how much longer can these 3 guys carry this offense? The problem is Adam Jones, the fact that he's not hitting to his potential. He has gotten better. Markakis has gotten better. But, the fact that they do have now a leadoff hitter in Corey Patterson, that's been a good factor. But they're not hitting 4 for 20 with runners in scoring position again last night. It's killing them.
Yeah, and that's been a little bit of a problem for the Nationals as well, but not to that degree, obviously. But, I mean, you do get into a situation with them where, Ryan Zimmerman and Adam Dunn and Josh Willingham at points have had to carry the lineup. You kind of like to see them add maybe one more guy. Pudge Rodriguez started off very well and has been in a bit of a slump lately. And Nyjer Morgan is struggling. I mean, he's both offensively and defensively, and even on the base paths has had some erratic moments. And he's got a night off tonight. Jim Riggleman giving him a night off for the 2nd time this week just to kind of clear his head a little bit. So, I mean, the Nationals don't have that problem to the degree that the Orioles have, but it is a bit of an issue. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the series shapes up this weekend with a couple of offenses that, before the year, everybody thought that would not be these 2 clubs' problems. They'd be able to hit, but that's been a bit of an issue. So we'll see how the series shakes up. How do you see the series going in terms of who takes which games?
Well, I like the pitching matchups. Oh God, we're going to mess this up. I like Bergeson tomorrow. He is facing Stammen. And then I like Kevin Millwood, who's facing John Lannon. So I'm going to predict. No, you know what? I'm going to predict. No, I'm going to take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles.
Okay.
What do you say?
I would say the same. I mean, I think Scott Olson wins tonight. He's been very good. And John Lannon historically has been tough on the Orioles. I mean, he had one of his best games early in his career. A couple of years ago, he sat through a 2.5-hour rain delay at Camden Yards and came out and threw 7 good innings. So I think it's 2 out of 3 for the Nationals, and we'll see him again next month at Camden Yards.